Talk. This is Singtalk Radio.
All right, we are live here at Singtalk. I'm really happy with the fact that these two guests were able to take time out of their schedules and come and chat with us today. First of all, thank you to my wife for being here and co-hosting today, and welcome everyone. I would like to introduce you to JQ Smith and Tony Dixon. And I was gonna, I got a little couple bullet points about who you guys are, but how about let's start with you, JQ. Just tell us a little bit about your past and a little bit of what you've done.
So we're just talking professionally.
Well, you can tell.
Yeah, please.
Please.
I'm interested in some of the other stuff too.
Right.
Professionally. Okay, well, my name's JQ Smith. I am a songwriter, singer, producer. I have worked with a couple of people. I wrote along with Tony, Best Thing I Never Had for Beyoncé. I did Yeah for Usher, Like a Boy for Sierra, Icebox for Marion, Radar for Britney Spears, amongst other records. Shit, I think that's it. Oh, can I curse?
You can say whatever you want.
Okay.
I love how on your Instagram, because this is the only way I found out about this, you start with proud husband.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
father.
be clear. I enjoy my job. And a lot of people don't get to do that. But for me, it is a means to an end. My goal is to be the best father and husband I can be. And I'm blessed that something that I like to do helps
Get you there.
like that.
Yeah.
So. But for all the things I've produced or co-produced, my children would probably be the
Co-produced.
Yeah. My wife did most of the heavy.
She gets some credit for that. Yeah. It's awesome.
Yes.
And JQ, where's your favorite place to go outside of LA?
Outside of LA, Tokyo.
Oh, damn it. I thought you were going to say the Blissful Bear. Well, anyway, we'll come back to that.
Oh, see, you have to say in California.
I don't know. I'm just, I'm out there fishing. So
Oh, bro, when I tell you, actually, I came back and I told Tony about the place. I showed the pictures. I was like, we've got to go here.
You went with Billy?
Oh, what?
Isn't it great?
What? It is amazing.
We're just trying to make you feel bad.
You're right. I see.
It is
so
amazing.
fun
I
when
worked out
Tony
up
wasn't
there.
Yeah, it's so nice.
the invite's open to you, too, there. So, Tony, tell us about you a little bit.
Okay, my name is Tony Dixon, for those who don't know. I'm a producer, songwriter as well, musician, arranger, composer, vocal producer.
Damn, you got a couple more titles than I got.
Have you ever co-produced a kid?
No.
Boom.
As far as you know.
Yeah, oh no, I know. No.
Don't do 23andMe.
Right, I know.
Don't.
This list comes up, I'm like,
Yeah.
It's real.
it's real.
It's real.
Yeah, but musically, I've been able to work with a little bit of everyone. I love the fact that God has taken me on a route that hasn't allowed my music career to be in a box. So I've done gospel music, I do R&B, I've done hip hop, I've done pop, I've done adult contemporary, I've done a little bit of everything. But I've worked with artists like we were saying, Beyoncé, Chris Brown, Ariana Grande, and then on the other side, someone like Babyface.
Baby.
And you're working with him. You work for him, or you work just out of his studio?
We actually have a company together, and so we're business partners.
Oh, okay.
Production
Here's the
partners
fun part. Once you start working, for me, writing with Kenny, you definitely feel like you're working for him.
Yeah, there's no way you're not working for him. But, yeah.
That's the dynamic.
Yeah, that's the dynamic.
Yes.
But
Yeah, it's
He's
okay.
serious.
That's okay.
yeah, no, it's great.
I mean, if you're going to work for someone, that's the
yeah,
cream.
that's the
So,
one. But yeah, we've been working together for about 10 years now, actually. And then I've worked with Toni Braxton and Celine Dion. I got to work on Aretha Franklin's last project before she passed.
Wow.
Johnny Mathis.
Wow.
And then Mary, Smokey Norfolk, Marvin Sapp.
How old are you?
I'm 44 years old.
How did you guys meet, by the way? I mean,
I'll tell the story. I like his side of the story.
We met through a
Common friend of ours.
Through a common friend, songwriter, artist named Carrie Hilson.
Oh yeah. We know Carrie.
Carrie and I have been working together forever. She's actually like the godmother to my children. But I was out here in LA.
Can you godfather to a co-produced thing?
Check
I
23andMe.
just wonder if I can.
I think you can.
You got all the authority.
I'm slightly confused.
23andMe, maybe.
Slightly
Yeah.
confused by that question, but I think yes is the answer. But no, we were out here. I was out here working, and I got a call from Carrie. It was like, hey, I'm going over to the studio. I would absolutely love it if you could come with me because it's just a bunch of dudes, and I don't want to go by myself. So I was like, yeah, easy. I'll slide through for a little bit. And, went through there, met everybody, which was really cool. But when I met Tony, clicked. Tony, I am lame as hell. Tony is lamer because he's tall and good looking and still doesn't do anything. So I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do anything. Yeah. And it's not very often, at least in a lot of the rooms that I end up in, that you find a bunch of people that are kind of on the same page.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Where did that come from for both of you?
The not drinking, not smoking. and
Yeah,
all that?
I mean, especially in the world of music. I mean, Shannon just laughs and rolls her eyes at me, but I saw cocaine for the first time just a few years ago. I haven't even seen cocaine, let alone
right.
take
I
anything.
was dealing at no.
But I'm saying, no,
right.
she just thinks it's, I'm like,
Right.
some sort of innocent little farm boy from Utah, which it's not that far off.
It is.
But I mean, how does it happen that you guys just make a decision? Is it a conscious decision, or you just never slid into it and didn't care?
For me, it was I guess a bit of both. It never made sense to me. In high school, where I went to high school, everybody got drunk.
Yeah.
On the weekends. And it just took me a couple of times to see some people drunk and throwing up and falling all over the place and would go, that does not look like fun.
Where'd you grow up?
Alabama. Well, I'm an Army brat.
Okay.
So
all over.
I was born in North Carolina, but North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Chicago, Germany for 4.5 years.
Wow. Do you speak German?
No, I can still count. I don't know why. I can still count. That's the only thing that stuck with me. But yeah, I never.
So you just didn't slide into it?
Yeah, it didn't make sense. Like it just never made sense. There's
And is
one
that kind of
time
what
that I
happened for you
wanted to
too.
do.
I mean, it was just like
It was, well, for me, partly it was my faith. I grew up in a Christian background and my family, and so it was never around me. So I was never really exposed to it. It was never nothing I ever had to struggle with. I never saw my parents drinking or smoking or anything like that. So, and then being that my mother was a nurse that worked with a lot of urgent care patients, and she used to expose me to that at a really young age. And I remember, for whatever reason, I remember being in the I remember being in the trauma unit as a kid, and I remember a doctor pulling me aside, and he gave me this. I don't know why I remembered it, but he said, "Did you know that about 60% of the people that come in here are drug or alcohol related?" And it stuck with me, and I was like, "This will not be me. If I'm in here, it's not for that."
Yeah.
Got the
Right. And as the older I got, it was very similar to
interesting
Q.
choice to not do that, and might A, why you guys connected, but B, why you've had so much success is because it hasn't gotten in the way.
I don't know about that.
It could be. I mean,
I
think
maybe I'm wrong. Look,
We were in New York one time. The only time I've ever wanted to actually take a drink. I was in New York working with a producer named Tricky. I was with Tricky and the Dream, and we were working on Kelly Rowland. Mm-hmm. And Kelly makes this drink. I'm not going to say what the drink is because everybody lost their mind over how amazing it was. So, yes. Mm-hmm. So I wanted one, but it just didn't. It was fun as well. Like it was a slushy.
Okay.
And everybody's like, "Yo, it just tastes like."
Was it pink?
No.
Okay.
It was
like
her.
that.
It's her thing.
Right.
So I was blown away, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, "Yo, that just looks so good."
Yeah.
And Dream pulls me aside and goes, "Q," because we've known each other for
Stay
a long
away.
time. No, he goes,
Oh.
"Q." Second I started drinking, I became rich.
The
In
second-
that
Right, the very
moment,
second.
that made so much sense to me. I was like, he's right. I could be rich too if I just go ahead and take
if
a
I
drink. I should
only
drink.
drank
And I got ready to. Kelly made me one, and I got ready to drink. And Tricky, who had been trying to get me just because I never drank, trying to get me to take a drink forever, walked in the room. And right as I was about to take the drink, he grabbed my hand and was like, yo, Patron is not the way you get into the game. He was like, this isn't the one.
Actually, it would have cured you. Right? It would have cured you.
Right.
It's like a parent who gets a kid smoking and says, then smoke the whole pack. And when you're done, you don't want to
Won't ever
smoke
see it
again.
Yeah.
Patron, anyhow, especially if you haven't drunk before.
The
But
other thing for us too, I think, as you get older and wiser, you realize like one of the things that is really dear to both of our hearts is that we realize that being sober-minded and physically healthy is important, because if this shuts down, that's one of his biggest quotes is, if this shuts down, everything shuts down.
right.
So the truth is, there is certain amount of legitimacy to what you're saying. To be able to last long term, I think you have to either be able to really manage that, or stay away from it, because it can get in the way. I've seen it hinder certain.
Absolutely.
But and there's plenty of people who manage it.
Yeah.
But when you cross the line and it's managing you, and
Right.
it's hard for people to even know they've crossed the line. But there's a point where it owns you.
But and for some people, you never know what that line is, and I just never wanted to test it.
Yeah.
what's the
Because
point?
what's the point? And if I find out that I crossed the line and I can't
Right.
come back, then what do I do about that?
Yeah.
So.
Well, when I first saw the little white lines, they said, "You want some?" And I thought to myself, "I can try it, I can try it, and I'll either love it, and now I got something else I got to worry about, or I'm going to hate it, and what's the point?" So,
Right.
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
But circling back around, one of the reasons I wanted to have you guys together in here, because you guys' conversation and chat at Vocalize U's Artist Intensive this year, just watching you two together, which is why I was like, what's the connection here? You guys clearly had a connection in chemistry, and it's obviously, parlayed into making some great music and stuff like that. And I want to really kind of focus this towards the vocal production side of things.
Okay.
But the chemistry between you guys was undeniable. You guys were...
The best part, I think, has been, like, Tony's my friend. Like, Tony is one of my closest friends.
Right.
It's never been about music.
Ever.
Like, if we make some music,
It's a byproduct.
cool.
Yeah.
But I just like
spending
hanging
time
out with Tony.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He gets my jokes,
Right.
which is amazing. Not many people get them.
Right.
The kids don't. The wife doesn't.
I'm not allowed to tell the kids my jokes.
Oh, I see.
But it's just, and we're like-minded in a lot of ways. And the ways that we aren't like-minded,
Doesn't matter.
yeah, we're able to have like conversations and nobody get upset. It never goes to some crazy level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You realize that, like you were saying, our friendship is first, and it has been. We've been friends for 15 years now, so it's not like this is, it's common ground. We hang out outside of doing music, and the ability to accept each other's flaws and good and bad.
Yeah.
That's what everybody looks for in any
Have you ever had a?
Not that I can think of.
I don't think so. But that's one of the amazing things.
Yeah.
Like it takes a lot to get Tony to that point, and it takes a lot to get me that way.
Right.
Like we can disagree and just be like, well, look, it's just something that we're not gonna see eye to eye on.
And move on.
Like, all right, well, you still hungry?
Right.
Yeah, and we just but it's never.
Yeah.
Yeah, never gets there. It's never.
And
that
anything
personal.
we've ever had creatively or even business-wise, we've been able to talk directly about, and literally a squash like that.
So, in the studio, have you guys produced vocals together, or do you guys?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Because clearly, vocal production is subjective, right?
Yes.
And that's the magic of great vocal producers. As a vocal coach, I'm sitting here developing artists in sort of a way to give them the strength, the skills, the whatever. And then I stand back and I watch vocal producers who
Right.
take that and turn it into magic. I am always, well, I guess with the upper level, I'm always super impressed on how do they even think to pull that out of them.
What is vocal production?
So, well, and that's
So you want to be a vocal.
well,
What is that?
when you take a singer and you develop them, you give, from my perspective, I give them the skills. It's like I'm a fitness coach, and then I turn them over to the defensive team or the whatever, and they turn that athlete into whatever sport they're playing in, the best in the world, a diving coach or whatever.
But, but what does it look like? Like, what are you
Like,
tuning them, or are you telling them to sing in a certain way, or?
To me, a bit of both. To me, and this has always been like just my thought process when it comes to vocal production, I tell everybody that I sit down with, and I tell them this in the beginning, that is a song is a song is like a 3-minute, 4-minute audible movie. That is what it is. And what I need is for you to get in character. I need an Oscar performance.
What is your motivation?
Exactly. I think a lot of times you'll find a lot of people that sing amazingly, like have the most tremendous voices in the world, that will never do anything more than sing backup for people and sing in church choirs and sing wherever.
Because there's not something unique enough, or
Not just unique enough, but having something unique is very important. But the most important thing is that I believe you. Your ability, music has one job, in my opinion, it has one job and one job only, and that is to make you feel something. So you can sound amazing, but if you can't make me feel something, if I'm not ready to invest emotionally, I am not gonna invest monetarily.
Have you had that happen where you're like, I can't get this person to get behind it?
No.
So do you have little tricks that you do to get them?
Absolutely. I think we all have little things that we figured out along the way. Like one of the first conversations that I always have is sit down and I'll look you in the face and tell you, look, my job is to get this performance out of you. Like because we got to trust each other. I'll clear the entire room so there's nobody but me and you, because there's some things I may ask you to do that make you feel uncomfortable, make you feel silly, but I need you to trust me, because there is only one person who wants you to sound great more than you, and that's me. Because if you don't sound good after this is all over, you still get to work with you again. Right. It's my job. I'm the one that failed.
What do you think is the big? Is it fear? Is it ego? Is it like what's blocking them from the good performance?
A lot of people. There's definitely a lot of ego. There's definitely fear. People don't like to get outside of their comfort zone. Yeah. Most people like to live in their wheelhouse.
Oh yeah, and they get like feral.
I sing really strong, and I have a lot of runs.
This is what I do.
When it's time to sing, hey, what I need for you is I need like damn near a whisper. I need you to bring it way down. This is an intimate moment.
Right.
So all that power and screaming is not helpful.
Celine, listen.
So it's like
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
but
right?
going
Yeah.
back to
You guys have to
subjectivity,
let that go too.
Have you ever been working together where you feel it and you're not feeling it?
yes.
Yeah.
Well, so
All the
how does
time.
that work itself out?
Well,
You're like the parents. You have to go talk about it outside of the booth.
no, because usually what'll happen with us, first of all, we are now at the point in our careers where we only work with people we respect. Of course, we want to like them.
Like Dave and I.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
right,
So it's
okay.
about respect. So when he gives his opinion, let's just say if I'm recording someone and he gives his opinion on what he thinks I should do with a vocal or a harmony or whatever, or where the song should go, I know it comes from a place of wanting the best for the song, which we always say song first, and it comes from someone that I respect. So I'm not like, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's like a lot of times what I do is I take the approach of let's try it, let's listen to it, see what the common ground is. If it worked out, great. If not, we got the recording, I can move on.
Right.
I don't really.
When you say let's try it, are you talking the song? Are you talking a bit of a song? You're talking a chorus, or is it all of the above?
Whatever the note was.
Yeah, whatever the note was, or the disparity we may have had.
If you went from high to a whisper.
Yeah, it could be a high to a whisper, or maybe a chord change, or maybe a way I did a harmony, a
So
background.
it's
harmony.
micro, not macro.
No, it could be both.
It could be, either.
It could be either or. Yeah.
And one of the things specifically with Tony and my dynamic, is that I've also learned, over the years that we don't always approach things the same way. Right. It's like, what's 5 plus 5?
Do you need help?
What's 3 plus 7?
Yeah.
What's 8 plus 2?
Right.
There are different ways to approach things to get to the same place. So in a lot of cases, what I've learned is if Tony does something and I'm like, well, maybe let me sit back and be quiet for a while. It's like you can't.
You might both go the same way.
If he's in the middle of painting and I'm like, yo, I don't. It's
it's detrimental.
Yeah, you don't even know what's going to happen yet. Let me paint the picture.
Let me.
Yeah. So I step back and I want to say 8 times out of 10.
Yeah.
If I just step back, it's exactly where
we wanted to get to it.
Yeah, because even
that's
like a lot of times, and I know I would think I've never asked Tony about this, but if I'm cutting the vocal, and I do something that he's not crazy about, I may get a little further into it and go, that's not right, and go back and change what he heard anyway. Sometimes you just,
Well, I think that's a special relationship because that's,
I can't do that when Dave's driving.
You guys don't even know.
Actually,
we don't have time to go down that rabbit
You sit
hole.
back, huh?
Right.
All right. Should try
I don't
that.
even drive when she's in the car anymore.
Yeah, we just.
we want
Just
our marriage
sit
to
there.
last.
Yeah.
I think like for example, if he's vocal producing, I usually tend to leave the room for that exact reason. Let him finish his thought, because, like you just said, I'm confident and I respect him enough to know that we will ultimately get to the same goal. And even if we're just a little bit off, once he's finished his thought, then I can come in and say, well, why don't we change this or why don't we do this? But not in the process of creating it.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing you could do to me.
Because it'll just shut it down.
It'll shut it down.
Yeah, that's
And
so true.
Yeah, so it's like you got to
The
give.
studio is always interesting, though, right? The dynamics in the studio and how quickly things seem to get tense or not.
Yeah.
But you
how
also
do
wouldn't.
it.
I would imagine you wouldn't want you two arguing. Well, not arguing, not
Right.
arguing, but like disagreeing when the singer's got to trust that you guys have the.
Yeah.
In
Right.
most cases, if there's a place that we don't agree or there's a disagreement somewhere, it's usually, I would say, with the artist more so with us.
Than with
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah.
It's usually the artist saying,
Wait a minute.
no.
Yeah.
no.
Was their
Where-
whole? They got a tighter grip, right?
Where you're like, all right, do me a favor, give me that vocal one more time. No, I think that was it. Okay, okay, I like that.
I like
that.
where you're
what
going.
So
I
what
like
I'm
where
gonna do
you're
is I'm gonna save it.
Right.
I'm gonna save that it's right here.
Yeah.
Let me play it for you again.
Yeah.
See, right there. Now, could you try to give it
Got
to
it
me
in a
one more
box.
time? Yeah.
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 So, the dynamic with the singer, when it's an up-and-coming singer, that's a different dynamic than a Beyonce,
Okay.
right?
Sometimes.
The only reason that it's usually different, and I know this is gonna sound counterintuitive, is Beyonce won't question you.
Really?
Beyonce won't question you. I've learned that
Interesting.
most of the upper tier, they've gotten to the point of being comfortable enough with themselves that they understand, all right, this, for right now, for today, this is the job that I'm doing.
Right.
I'm going to do this to the best of my ability. If you're in the room, then you're amazing at what you do.
Right.
I'm going to let you
I'm gonna
do
trust
your
you
job.
to do your job.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's good advice for up and coming singers, then, right? To just trust. Although they wouldn't have JQ and Tony. Who knows what they would have, right? I guess that's part of that.
Well, I mean, you guys are interested in up-and-coming singers, right?
Absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
That's kind of the future.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, truth is, at some point in time, we were all up and coming.
Right.
So
Right.
But also,
no
we're
one
always
takes
looking
that
for
shot.
the up-and-comers because that's where, I mean, it gets filtered, but that's where you find the next Beyonce.
No question.
We've got Beyonce. The next Beyonce or
Beyonce.
Me answer.
Yeah.
Nice one. Nice one. Right.
So, how do we? You'd mentioned some of the tricks that you use.
Yeah.
So I'd love to know little tricks that you guys both use, but how can are some of those tricks ones that do drill down into newer, younger, up and coming singers, or are they tricks?
Oh yeah. I mean,
Some of them do, some of them don't.
it depends on what you're doing. So, for example, and another reason why we work so well together, when we start a record, we usually come from a place of let's picture the movie in our head, right? So if you try to figure out what are we trying to convey with this particular message? What is the mood of the movie? Like he said, the automobile movie. Is it a soft song? Is it an intimate song? Is this a big power ballad? Is this a up-tempo party record? All of those things we consider in the process of creating the songs as well. So it's not like we just come in as vocal producers.
Right.
We come in, we start usually from the inception of the record. So we know exactly where ultimately where we think we want
By
to go.
record, you mean like the full album? Or are you talking
The full song.
one song?
Yeah, one song.
Okay.
Yeah, the production of that particular song. So it could be, for example, if I'll give like a little minor tip. Let's say, for example, we're doing a song that requires someone to hit a low note that they can't quite hit. A lot of times I'll tell them to tuck their chin in because for whatever reason that opens up the vocal and they can sometimes hit that note that they normally couldn't hit. You know,
if there's a note, just with the tips, there's a higher note and they keep missing it going flat. Have no idea why this works. Raise your eyebrows.
Yeah. Yeah.
Raise your eyebrows. They raise their eyebrows, and for some reason, it's just on their mind, and they're sitting.
I'm going to try that in the car next time.
How do you decide when you hear a line and you go, God, I love the line, it's delivered well, it's pitchy, but it's delivered really, really well.
Right.
Where's that threshold you go, it's fine, we can tune it, it's fine?
The feeling.
Yes.
And do you go it's just too flat on this one and it's the artifacts are going to be too much, or do you just go it's delivered so well we'll just tune it?
If it is delivered masterfully, I don't care about anything else.
Really?
We can and I mean
Did that
when
change?
we started
Yeah.
when we started that wasn't the case.
Right.
But with where technology is now,
And also your experience?
Well, and my experience, but specifically about if they're singing, if the note is flat or sharp, or if they didn't nail the actual note, but they delivered the performance well.
Right.
We can get around a note.
Right.
Yeah.
We can get around a note, but if you are bland, there's literally no point.
Have you dealt with bland?
Yeah. A lot of times you start with
You don't
bland.
have to mention names.
I think
add
we
sauce
have
to it.
we have jobs. I get a lot of vocal production work because there's a decent amount of bland. I'm very good at if you can sing it all, I can make you sound like the radio. I'm very
do it.
good
How much?
at that. I'm very good at that.
Yeah.
So there's never been a threshold where you just went,
I can't do
it's
it.
not for me.
Yes.
I think that's part of being good at what you do. Too,
Yes.
is knowing,
Saying no,
knowing
yeah.
when that's not within your frame.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've only run across one artist. I will not mention their name, but I've run across one artist that made me feel that. Like, as a rule of thumb, for me, it's as long I am willing to work, as long as you are willing to work.
Mm-hmm.
The second it turns into you
You're
not
doing
caring,
more
if
work.
I care more than you care,
Yeah.
then I'm done.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to me, the studio is where you make all the mistakes. It's where you figure it out.
Right.
You know, in most cases, the artists have sat down with someone like you, so we know you have the ability. To me, that's really one of the hardest things. Most artists that come in the studio, specifically new artists, believe for some reason your ability to sing means you should be an artist.
Yeah.
That is not the case. In a lot of cases,
What is
you're
an artist
over
then?
singing.
What is an artist?
There's different now.
Yeah.
I believe in today's market you have artists and you have acts. And I think there are more acts being signed now. You know what I mean?
What does that
I
mean?
believe Beyoncé is an artist. Adele is an artist. Bruno Mars is an artist. But then you have, and no disrespect to anyone, but then you have some cases where the song is great, but you never hear from the person singing it again.
Right.
Well, what about, so are you saying like maybe some of the K-pop things, those are more like acts?
No,
Okay,
K-pop. No, I
But
do
some of the big
decent
groups.
amount of work in.
No, I mean like Rain, some of those guys are awesome. I mean the big groups. No, they're not
because
acts?
because a lot of people don't know. At least with the company that I work with over there a lot,
Who do you
they
work with over
start SM.
Okay.
Company SM. They start pretty much going to school for nothing but
there? Oh
that
yeah, that's true.
at like 9 years old.
Yeah.
9 or 10, and they're doing nothing but being drilled on singing, stage performance, how
it's
to
not
deal
coming
with
from
media,
them, it's-
how to do all of that.
So-
And that's at a certain point at like 14 or 15, if it started out with 8 or 10 and you've been doing this for 6 years, you come in and you sing again, and they go, okay,
We're keeping you.
you guys, no thank you.
We're keeping
You.
you. Yeah.
So-
So what is an act? Tell me, in both of your opinion, what's an act? I mean, without putting somebody down, because I don't think we're saying one's better than the other.
No,
We're just
not
saying
at all.
two
They're
different
just
things.
different.
So what is an act? Give me an idea of what you guys see as an act. Because,
Well, for
and
me-
again, I'm not saying one's better than
Yeah.
the other.
Yeah, well, for me, to go back to kind of the beginning question about an artist, to me, an artist has a perspective,
A
a
message.
point of view.
Yeah.
I think it's very difficult, and it's something that comes innately from them. So, for example, if we mention the name Beyonce, there's usually one or two words that come to your mind about that particular artist that makes you say, that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what they've got. And that's how I look. That's what I look at as an artist. There's a perspective. They have a point of view. They have something to say. An act, to me, tends to be, their perspective tends to be given to them from someone else.
I see.
They're an
So-
instrument.
They're an instrument. Exactly.
Yeah.
They're more of a vessel that's been put to, if it's been put together or manufactured, it could be, like you said, it could be a group that was put together or formulated, or it could be that you had some brothers and sisters who got together who happened to be incredible
act.
together.
Yeah.
So a lot of it to me is
So
about
if you
perspective.
take like Fifth Harmony,
Right.
maybe that was an act to begin with, and then you start pulling out of them, they
Right.
became artists.
That's
Yes.
a great example.
Yes.
That's a great
And there's
example.
nothing wrong with either thing.
With
but
either.
Just
They both work, they both serve a purpose.
right. Okay.
I completely agree. That's
Yeah.
a great example.
Okay.
So you have it where an act is put together, but that doesn't mean that the act isn't composed or built up of artists.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And what we've gotten to see.
I think
from
it's
like
hard for artists though to stay. I mean, I'm guessing, but like Fifth Harmony, as they start to develop an opinion, each of them individually, it's harder to stay as an act or as a group.
Well, to me, it's
Although,
to me it is just the nature, like the nature of the organism. Like it grows, and sometimes it grows one way, sometimes it grows a different way. Like I don't think everything is supposed to be forever.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Except
I thi-
for marriage.
Except for
Yeah,
marriage.
exception.
Right?
Except for marriage. I think it's the way that it works. I think it worked the way that it was supposed to work.
yeah.
And truth be told, there's very few groups. If you want to go into the group area, there's very few groups that last for a long time anyway.
All right.
For that exact reason, like you grow, you have different things that you want to do, different things you want to pursue. Your perspective changes.
Your agenda changes.
Yeah, your agenda changes. Because a lot of times, like for example, if you look at those acts that are manufactured, most of the time they came in with the goal of being a solo artist anyway, and this was a means to an end. It's like, oh well, I get to be on TV, I get exposure that maybe I wasn't going to get as a
in the business.
Yeah, so let me do what I got to do. But that doesn't mean in the back of their mind the entire time, I'm ready for my solo moment.
Right.
Or I'm thinking about or developing it.
Right.
So, and as a group, usually what I've seen from the experience is the groups, after a while, usually those things can start to show.
Yeah.
Certain ones won't show up to certain events. They won't come to certain performances.
Yeah.
Or
I feel like I know exactly what you're talking about.
You'll start to see more people performing than others.
I know
It happens
exactly
all the
what
time. Yeah.
I know exactly what artists you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Maybe one throws a fit and
Yeah.
slams the door and tells
Yeah.
the other. Yeah.
Well, and for the fans, they just want a reunion.
Yeah, they don't care.
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
get the five of them back together.
Of course.
And four
Where
of them are
did-
like, okay, and one of them is like,
It'll never
it
happen.
doesn't fit my artist agenda anymore.
Yeah.
And then there's one that's just really sad because that's all they wanted was the group.
Yeah,
What?
true.
Where did you guys
And that's
start?
true,
Like,
too.
did you think you'd be doing what you're doing now, or did your careers kind of? You were like born and you're like, I want to be a.
No.
Oh, totally no.
No, I never wanted to be a songwriter. This is definitely not what I wanted.
What did you want?
I wanted to be an exec. Once I figured out I liked the music business, I wanted to be an executive.
What does that mean?
I
Make
wanted
a decision maker, money maker.
I wanted to be an attorney.
Really?
Oh.
Yes. And then, I
What
messed
kind of
around.
attorney?
I messed around after I
in
got into
entertainment?
after I got a chance to see the business. Absolutely. Absolutely. I got to, in college, I got to see my brother showcase for Warner Brothers. And that just changed my perspective about everything, because for me, being a kid coming from a small town in Alabama, the music business seemed 4,000,000 miles away.
Yeah.
So it just didn't seem like reality.
Right.
So the second that I saw it was close, it was real, it was tangible, then I wanted to be an executive. I wasn't exactly sure how to do it, and I always feel like you need a plan. I looked around, and what was closest to me that seemed real to me was Kenny and L.A. Baby L.A. and Babyface.
L.A. Reid.
And when I did all the little homework that I could do at that time, what I saw was they were artists, then they were songwriter producers, then they were executives.
So there were some steps.
Okay,
Yeah.
boom. That's what I got to do. I got to be an artist. I can sing. So I went and I got a deal.
Wow.
And then I started writing songs. And then I didn't suck at writing songs, and people started giving me money. So I just hung out writing songs
you
longer.
must have you must love it, right? Not
I
you must,
love
but
I love the life it affords me. I love the fact that if I get a call from my son and he's had a bad day at school,
you can take
I
time
can
off.
call Tony and say, I'm sorry, I'm not working
Aw.
today.
Yeah, that's a
You
great
know,
lifestyle.
I love
Yeah.
that. And I love the fact
would
that
either of
I
you
get to see
guys-
people
Yeah.
that I really like.
Would you have, either of you guys want to run a label like LA did?
Not me
I would
personally.
like to get my feet wet first, because the one thing, the older I get, the more that I realize is I don't know anything.
Yeah.
So
for
even
real,
though
yeah.
we've been, even though we've been in the music business for a while, and we've been to the Grammys a few times and won a bunch of awards and sold millions of albums, there's some. It's like working out. You know, you may cycle every day. You may be the most incredible cyclist ever, but when you go to the gym and you start to do something that you haven't been doing, it feels like you're starting over. You know,
Right.
so there's a lot that we've learned that
What does
will
that
will
day-to-day
translate.
look like? And
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think with respect to what you were saying before about me getting in the business, my getting in the business came and was birthed out of losing my father. So it became the thing that I was able to do, that I was finally able to express myself, and I dove into it really heavy, and got into the creative process. And so it was kind of something that a passion kind of came from pain, which to me happens with a lot of artists.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
A lot of artists start from a place of pain. So for me, that's what music did. It was my therapy, my medication. It was my alcohol. It was my everything. So and because I dove into it and I loved it as much as I did, I got good at it pretty quickly. And then I realized, like he was saying, I actually can make a career out of this, because I really didn't get into it seriously until I was actually in college. I got my degree in business management. It had nothing to do with
you really?
Yeah. And I really dove into it while I was in
Where'd you
college.
go to school?
Hampton University in Virginia.
Where did you grow up? Because I think I missed that.
I'm from Denver, Colorado.
You're from Denver. Wow. Okay.
Born and raised in Denver, and then I went to college in Hampton, and I'm trying to make the story a little shorter. I met while I was at Hampton. At that particular time, Teddy Riley ran Virginia.
Okay.
So anybody that wanted to do anything musically, you pretty much ran through them. Pharrell and the Neptunes were
guys.
there. Rodney
Yeah.
Jerkins was out there.
Yeah.
Timbaland, Devontae, all of them were out there at that particular time. Well, I got to meet Teddy because Blackstreet used to rehearse in our auditorium. So while I was creating my little demos and things like that, I would sit outside and wait for them to. I'd find out what their schedule was. I waited, and I got to play him some of my music, and he liked it, and he allowed me to start coming to his studio, and he was the first person that gave me an opportunity
No kidding.
to work
Wow.
while I was in college. So
Nice.
yeah, and because of that, I was also given the ignorance of not knowing that producers didn't do everything. I thought producers did everything. So I learned music engineering, I learned songwriting, I learned how to play, I learned all of those things because I thought that that's what producers did, and the producers I was around, that's what they did.
Yeah.
And it worked out great for me later on, because the one thing I never wanted to do once I took the career seriously was wait on anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be stuck saying I have a great track, but
just need.
I just need a great song. I need to find a JQ.
I needed.
You know what I mean? Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
I didn't want to have to find someone that to allow me the ability to be able to, have my music get out there or whatever. And so, fast forward, that's what I was able to do. I took it. I was able to take it to another level. Once I graduated and things like that. But a lot of it just started for me. The actual love for music came from a place of pain.
So I'm going to guess Kenny Babyface, a lot of his attraction to having you come and working with him is that you're multi-instrumental and all that stuff, because isn't that kind of where his head is too?
Yeah, it's great because with him and with all of us, it's really about coming from a place of being around people you respect. And you don't want to have to do everything. The goal I believe, of a healthy partnership is that somebody can kind of start taking some of the weight off of you. Like they say, being unequally yoked. You don't want to be in business or in a relationship or anything where you're carrying all of the weight. And the thing that I think he recognized in me is that he doesn't have to micromanage me. There's never.
I was there.
Yeah, we don't have to
I was
write
there.
a song.
You were always at this. There were a few people at the studio around that time, and like I remember having a conversation with Kenny about it, and him saying, "Look, everybody else, I'm putting everybody out.
Yeah.
He's gonna stay
Wow,
because when I get to the
Really?
studio, he's here. When I leave, he's
So
here.
he did sort of a purging and just
Yes.
Yeah.
wow.
But and even after he presented me with the partnership and the company that we started, it was the first conversation I had with him was I refused to be a burden. I said the day we got together, I said if there's anything that I'm doing that is slowing things down or adding weight to your already crazy lifestyle and your creative process, just let me know and I'll make sure it'll change and it'll never happen. We won't have to have the same argument ever twice. And it's never been that way. It's always been, I wanted to make sure, and that's what any relationship I even get into. It's like, let's make sure that whatever it is I'm bringing to the table, I'm adding to it. I don't want to ever feel like when I get around someone that I'm taking from them. And that, you know what I mean? You get around those artists and they get that all day, every day.
I think you guys are two very special guys.
Yeah.
Because
I know.
you guys don't know, I have so much exposure in my part of the business.
Yeah.
My door is a revolving door. I'm not like you guys.
Yeah.
I don't work with one artist on a project.
Right.
I mean, it's 20 artists in and out a day or something like that, right? And I get exposed to so many personalities. This is not. This
you
isn't
guys
common.
Yeah.
I mean, the
I'm grateful for that.
entitlement,
Yeah.
and part of this is also the upper level.
I'll get down.
The upper level, and you guys may already know this as well. The upper level artists are easy.
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
the mid-level.
Oh, yeah.
The mid-level artists and their entourage that are entitled, they're demanding, they're afraid their artist isn't being respected, they're afraid they're the artist that's not being respected or whatever, and so they become really difficult.
And I can expand on that because what you consider to be a mid-level artist usually is the one who started out humble and had a little bit of success.
Yes.
It's when they come back around that you're like, oh no.
That ego.
It's
Yeah, but
But
something
you
about
get
that
them off
is different.
cycle about 3 times,
Yeah.
and the fear of ever being back on cycle, and that's what puts them in that upper level that they start to like get their head straight.
Oh yeah.
But
Life will humble you. You know what I mean? And time will humble you. So it's I have personally, if I'm given the opportunity or the option, I'm not going to work with or be around people that have that bring arrogance into a room, because I've been doing this long enough to know you can't afford it. We don't have time for that.
well, arrogance is born out of insecurity.
Of course,
Oh, absolutely.
And so
Of
those
course.
that really know their craft and are comfortable with their craft, that just isn't part of
Yeah, and like you said, they're comfortable in their lane. Like when we were able to record Celine Dion, literally we cut the record. She cut the record in 3 takes. Listened to it and was in and out and super sweet and left and goodbye. And then you have other artists that you work with.
I've had one artist. That cut that fast.
Yeah.
Jason Aldean.
See?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like it was one of those where he flew me in, got there. Great to meet you. He sang, and I was so confused as to why I was there.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is then all of a sudden vocal producers or other people start to justify their existence by taking things apart instead of standing back and going,
Yeah,
we don't do
he's
that.
done.
We
He
don't
sang
do
it and then went, what should I do now?
that. Go home. Let's go eat.
Let's
Yeah.
shit.
Let's go with the
Let's sing it. Let's sing it one more time to make sure that wasn't a fluke.
Just for fun.
Yeah.
And then he sang it again. I was like, bro, I think we got it.
Yeah.
Like,
we have
got it.
we have a rule. I know both of us live by this rule when it comes to the when we're doing songs. It's really song first. Above our egos, above our agenda, the song has to come first. So whatever has to be done to make this song great, let's do it. And like you said, if it happens to be that you get those moments with a great vocalist who can cut it in 2 or 3 takes and you can be in and out, and we did it, great. And if it requires, like he said, if it requires me working up until you get it right because you have the raw materials, but maybe you just can't get a lot of it right, then let's do it. But at the end of the day, once it leaves our hands, we can't control it anyway.
Right.
Once it leaves the studio.
Where does it go to you then?
Well, I'm saying once it's released to the
Once
public.
it's released.
Yeah, once
Oh.
it goes to the label.
Yeah, once it's released to the public,
Okay.
we have very little control over what happens. We don't know if it's going to be successful or not. But
Will
what
the
we want-
label ever send it back?
sometimes,
Yes.
yeah, they have their opinions of what they want done, and you have a lot of times where you get a lot of people who want to steer ship.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you deal with that. But as a vocal producer, a lot of times our job is to be able to translate
What
it
the
is,
A&R is saying.
what they're looking
Yes.
for versus
what it means.
to what it
Exactly.
means and what
Yeah.
we believe in, and how do we, like you said, how do we coach them to getting that from to make
Because I get that I get that input from A&R as well. Like, well, I feel like X, Y, and Z, and I go, I don't know what that means.
Right.
I'll do my best. To,
I don't know what that means.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple more
Yeah,
questions. And this is really going back to where you guys came from. So 2 questions around that. A, what can you pass, when you're on the level you guys are on, what bits, I mean, this could be technology, this could be performance, but somebody's in the room in Alabama or in Denver or whatever, and they're trying to get their music out. What's the advice for them as great vocal producers? What
Am
can
I
you
speaking to an artist or am I speaking to someone that wants to be a vocal producer?
artist? I mean, I think a lot of people that's going to tune in are going to be singers who want to know, how do I get that? And the second question, you can process this one is, did you ever think those words were going to come out of your mouth as a kid growing up in Denver? When I produced Celine Dion's vocal track, or some of this stuff. I mean, can you imagine as a kid in Alabama going, I think I'll just produce Beyoncé one of these days.
No.
No. That speaks to how great God is to me. That's how I look at it.
So the second part of that question is, what advice? And I want this after the vocal production.
Yeah.
But what advice? You got a little kid growing up in Texas in the middle of nowhere, and I know how that felt growing up in southern Utah, feeling like the music world was way out of my hands. I'll never be a part. I mean, it's this big, it's this big castle that I'm not allowed in.
Right.
So, but let's go back to what advice to produce your songs, to produce your vocals from each of you.
I'll start. Maybe.
Go.
Okay, so.
I hate when you do that.
Because
Because
take his one.
we'll do every now and then. When we had to shoot our video for Vocalize You, I had to shoot a clip for Vocalize You. They was like, "Oh, I'll go first." I was like, "All right, cool." And then he gets up there and he says everything that because this and this and this, and then he just kind of looks at me, and I'm like,
What he said.
Great. Now I got to start over.
You can do it together.
Okay, yeah, we'll I'd say first, you got to start with a level of honesty with yourself. Are you really ready, or is it that your family thinks you're ready and everybody around you thinks you're just ready and that you just happen to be the coolest or best singer in your neighborhood
Or
in
just
your
the
city?
family has an agenda.
Right. Well,
Parents.
usually as when it comes from like your family, they usually just want to be nice to you. I think usually their motivation is,
I am a little more cynical than you.
Yeah, see,
I think that's just because those are at 2 different levels.
right.
When you're at home in your room, they're trying to be nice to you. By the time they get to you, and they see that the shit could be real,
That's different. Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
there are more agendas.
Yes.
Yeah.
But for most of the people that are sitting home in their rooms,
Yeah, you're
there's
right.
no.
You're right.
Yeah.
there's
Hey,
no
Mom, what do you think of
monetary-
this track?
Yeah.
Oh, baby,
Yeah,
that sounds
that's
wonderful. That's
That's
amazing.
That's
yeah.
the best rapper
Yeah,
ever.
so you have to start with a level of honesty. Really.
So don't listen to your mom.
Well,
Number
first,
2. Yeah.
yeah.
Kids, don't listen to your mom.
Don't get. I say
First.
that. Don't get too high. Don't get too low off of opinions. But be honest with yourself. So you really have to say, is my music really ready to be looked at on a professional level as an artist? Do I have a perspective? What is my perspective? Can I explain that to someone, or do I have that song that defines who I am from the minute people hear it. I think a perfect example of that recently has been like someone like Lizzo or Alicia Cara with Here. When you the very first song that they had that were hits, the minute you heard it, what they said to me defined them as an artist immediately.
Specifically Lizzo.
Yeah, she's killing, and to me that's great.
She has a message.
She has a message. She has a perspective.
Right.
You know,
If she never puts out any more music,
you know who she
I
is.
know who she is.
Exactly.
I
And
know who she
that's the
is.
beauty of being
Yeah,
an artist.
yeah.
So I would say start with being honest about where you're at. Work harder than everyone else to perfect your craft, because just because you are in your own bubble, there are 10,000 other kids in their basements doing the exact same thing that you're doing. So you have to outwork. The one thing they can't do that you can do better than anyone else, that you have a choice in, is how much you work at it. So work harder than everyone else. If you're serious about it, work harder than everyone else.
So let's say I'm a broke kid. I don't have any money. How do I track? How do I get the best? How do I even figure out how to get my vocals right?
See, to me, that's so, we all have to start
Somewhere.
the same way.
Yeah. We
You
all
know what I
start
mean?
there.
And
Okay,
at
I'm
this-
just saying these are
and at this
these are
point,
the
it's-
stomach blocks that I have.
Yeah,
So.
I'm saying at this point, it's not as difficult
It's cheaper
as
than
it
it's
was
ever been
when
to-
we were.
Yeah.
Like my
Oh,
son,
I remember.
my son has an
4-track on a cassette.
Yeah.
My son has an iPad. My son showed up in the room while I was recording to just play me something that he had downloaded GarageBand, and he was recording his own vocals.
Yeah.
So so playing around with all
yeah.
the technology that we have access
Yeah.
to.
Is there
Advantage.
any tech out there that you recommend? Like, is a really good plug-in or tool? I mean, GarageBand is clearly great. It's free.
Yes.
You know, I would
And I
have
think-
died for that when
I
I was
think
18.
we all would.
Oh my gosh.
I think GarageBand
I saved a
will get
whole
you
summer
where
to
you
get
need
that
be.
that Tascam 4
Track.
cassette,
I know what you mean.
and nothing ever sounded good.
Ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say start with GarageBand or an iPad.
Yeah,
It's-
just build.
Yeah. you can
Like
build.
that's the thing. None of this happens overnight.
Yeah.
None of it happens overnight. You have to. If I was going to tell anybody in the room, and it's not anything that anybody ever likes to hear, you know, be you. Like the only your individuality.
Unless you can be Beyonce, then be Beyonce, but otherwise be you. Right?
Right.
Your individuality
You will
is
be
your
at home.
superpower. Like your individuality
And I'm
is
kidding,
your
but
superpower.
I'm on
Yeah.
board more than you
Yeah.
can imagine. Like,
Yeah.
It's like that's one of the things that always confuses me, or doesn't confuse me because I understand why. But when we have new artists and people that reach out to us, it's not helpful from a business perspective for you to have made yourself sound like Beyonce. There is a
She
Beyonce.
owns
There's
I
already a
swear.
Beyonce, yeah.
Do you? Beyonce wasn't trying to sound like anybody else.
Right.
Like she did her thing and it grew into something else. You know, I think you have to take yourself. You have to take the job seriously, but never take yourself that seriously. You know what I mean? The reality of it is you are going to
That's really
need
good advice.
the thickest skin
yeah.
because you are going to be told no
Way
a
more.
million times. I think it's some of the reason that some of these artists that we're talking about developed these chips. They were
Yeah.
told no, and they were told they'd never be good enough for years, and then they get a chance.
But they also get hungry because they're like, you're going to tell me no? I'm going to dig in more.
But
Yeah.
like
That's a good thing.
That's what I try to tell people. Like you have to. There are so many things you have to love it. Like it can't be I want to be famous. It can't
Yeah.
be I want to be rich. You have to fucking love it because this music business thing is a different animal. It
Yes.
will fight you back.
Yeah.
It will bite you. It will kick you. It will scratch you. If you don't know, when we were there, I told somebody, know your why. That will be your most
That's what you fall back
powerful.
on.
You have to have a why. If you know your why, you have a reason to keep moving forward. Because be clear, inside of here, they will tell you you're not good enough. They will tell you to change. The second you change, they will tell you you're unoriginal. That it will not matter. No one will believe you.
There's a
No
lot
one
of
will
theys
believe
out there.
in you until you make it. That's just really the reality.
Yeah.
Nothing comes easy.
It-
Nobody cares until somebody else cares.
Yeah, it's really interesting how all these people will tell you, oh, no, you need to be more like and they try and mold you. And as soon as
yeah.
you're molded, they're like, hey, you're just not interesting. Like,
Exactly.
it is the kickback, it's the pushback.
Yes.
That does make you interesting.
Absolutely.
But kind of coming from, I'm on my own little soapbox here.
Yeah.
But somebody growing up and their parents gets latched onto this, they gotta get out of that bubble of what the family thinks.
Of course.
Meaning,
But that's-
it goes
it's
back to
the
this: who's
hardest-
working harder and why. I mean, you just have to be out there. You got to learn to swim on your own. You can't
Yes.
have your parents
Yeah.
or your rich uncle saving you all the time.
Right.
You just got to do it. I mean,
have to.
there's just
The crazy thing is, like, you have to fall in love, with the process. Because the reality of it is, wherever your goal is, I promise you, you're not gonna get there. Whatever perfection is, you're not gonna get there. You have to fall in love with the process, because the reality of it is, all of those no's, all of the people telling you suck, all of the times that you sit down to write a song and it's fucking terrible, you need that. You need that. Not only does
need
it
the
build
failure.
character, not only does it build character, not
and-
only do you learn what not to do, these are the things that toughen you up
Well, that's what I was
to
going to say.
be able
That's-
to, because once you,
That bubble around you, a family who wants to protect you from the pain, that's not helping you.
No.
At all.
It is the failing. It is the pain of shit. That sucked. That I got to do better.
Right.
That is where it's important.
what I tell
That's the
people,
magic.
I tell people is, like, think baby steps, and I mean not just little steps. I mean literally baby steps. Like, when a baby decides it's time to get up and walk, baby falls
Constantly.
forever,
Yeah.
but it never even crosses their mind to stop. They don't even know
Yes.
that that's a choice.
Yeah.
That's why they succeed. That's the only reason you're walking now. You know what I mean? You have to have that mentality.
You got to get to the remote control on the other side of the room.
Period.
Boom.
You know what I mean? Someone else's
You're
food.
telling jokes, but that's real.
It's real.
It is real.
It's real.
That's real. If that is your why, then that is your why. Get there.
Right.
I think the saddest thing right now, just as an outsider looking in on all this, is people wanting fame.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess maybe people have always chased that. It's
Yes.
not like
Of
that's
course.
new, but now it's publicized and it's
Well, it's easier access, right?
Yeah.
There's a million points of entry.
there's nobody telling you can't be. So
Well, if so and so from the middle of nowhere can be for
Wearing a
taking the sled
unicorn.
off to the house and
Yeah.
crashing, then why can't I be?
yeah,
Of course.
But so I want to wrap up here, but one more thing from both of
Yeah.
you.
Sure.
Define in each of your own ways vocal production. In a paragraph from each of you.
Making
you can start
sure
writing yours now.
You know, right?
making sure the artist is the best
ART.
version of themselves on the record. In a lot of cases, one of the hardest lessons that I had to learn was they don't have to do it like I do it. You know what I mean? Like, I'd get in and no, try it like that. No, they're the artist. They got the deal because they do something. So learning how to guide them into being the best version of themselves as opposed to being a version of you. You know what I mean? Making sure the artist is their best self on the record.
How
Yeah.
deep
Vocal
do you go
production.
into their lives? Are you going like, okay, something seems off, you need to be like, or is it just all in the booth, all in the
No,
like,
no,
are you
it can't be like the.
getting
There's
into their world?
you are absolutely a therapist as
Yeah.
a vocal producer. There has to be a level of trust that is very difficult to explain. You know, being vulnerable is not easy for anybody. It's
Right.
hard to tell someone you love them.
Yeah.
You're scared they won't tell you back. It feels the same when you're in front of the mic
You're raw.
and you're not exactly sure. They're asking you to do something you don't think you can do. And let's be real, most of us creatives, most of us artists are insecure. Like, you fight your whole life to be good enough to then you stand up in front of somebody and them tell you to do something that you don't think you can do.
Yeah.
And I just met you and now I feel like I'm gonna be a fucking weirdo and
Yeah.
loser in front of you. So it's most of the artists that I've worked with, I still, at some point in time or another, have conversations with. They may get in the booth and it may be about the song, but for me, if we're singing a song, if you're singing a song that there's a point where you need to be aggressive, and I'll tell you ahead of time, nothing that we're going to do inside of here I ever want you to take personally. But if it is my job to get that aggressive vocal out of you, I'm going to poke.
The bear. Yeah.
I'm going to poke. I'm going to get you there. If you need to be sad, we'll stop for a moment and we'll just delve into getting you in the headspace. That's, to me, that's what, that's the
job.
art of what we do.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's a cool job.
Yeah.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
What's yours, Tony?
To add to what you said, vocal production to me is getting the best performance, just very similar to a movie, getting the best vocal performance you can get out of the artist that you're working with for what the song dictates. So, and for what you were hired to do. So, same thing with as a director in a film. Your job is you've been paid by a production company to get an actor to put their best performance together for whatever this particular script dictates. It's the same thing with the music business. If you've been given a great song or a song period, if you've been given a song and your job as a producer or vocal producer is to bring out the character of that particular artist, and like you said, of course, add the element of who they are to that particular song, but get it to a place of production so they can ultimately use it for commercial use is what you're looking for. So that's what our job is.
Yeah.
I do have one more question for you.
Yeah,
I was going to end right there. Who are the other vocal producers out there you guys admire?
Kenny is fucking amazing.
Yeah, Kenny is great.
Watching Kenny work now is still retarded. DQ is amazing.
LaShawn Daniels.
Kook Harrell.
Kook.
LaShawn Daniels.
Harvey Mason Jr.
Harvey.
Incredible vocal producer.
You have to have
Even though B. Cox doesn't like doing it,
Yeah, he's
B.
great.
Cox is very good at it.
Yeah.
He does not
These
like
are the
doing
best
it,
names ever, by the way. There's no one named Gary or like like
Carl's
B-Tag.
awesome.
Yeah. And then there's Gary.
Right.
He's all right.
You know.
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Well, thanks for spending some time with it. I mean,
course.
Oh, absolutely, man.
it's a little bit like what you were saying. The older you get, the less you feel like you know. The longer this interview goes, the more questions I have.
I know. I
we'll do a part two.
I'm about to say,
Yeah.
be clear. I love the questions.
Yeah.
I love the questions because this is something that I wish was around when I was trying to
I'm
figure
telling
it
you,
out.
me too.
Yeah,
It's just
like-
like growing up in the middle of nowhere going, I'll never be able to connect with those people who know this.
Right.
And it was frustrating.
Yes.
Frustrating. So, I had to find my own adventure to get here and to
You had to walk
interact
through snow,
backwards,
uphill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both ways.
It's hard.
Barefoot.
Yeah. But anyway.
It is why it's why I love Vocalize You, actually.
Well, and that's why I love being able to do this podcast with people
Yeah.
because, having my ability to reach people like you,
Yeah.
I mean, I would have died as a kid to hear from people like you guys. And so, and I want to keep pushing this out to as many young singers, and that's the reason Vocalize You exists.
Yeah.
Right? Just to give those kids a chance to come in and interact with that level so they know where they're supposed to be headed.
Exactly.
So
But I gotta say, shout outs to you for even creating an opportunity like that.
And thank you, Big Billy Clark.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Billy,
Billy.
Yeah. You
I
don't
mean,
you don't
Billy's
see
the
that
world's
out there.
greatest connector on the planet.
No question.
What? Absolutely.
He's a
great.
good hugger.
Right.
too.
Yeah, he is.
He
Right.
gives a good hug.
Oh, he's fair.
So I was here. This is the last thing
Mediocre.
I'll say, and we can wrap it up. I was here. I'd known Billy. I met Billy through Daniel Bedingfield at the Soho House.
Yeah.
I didn't
Right,
really know him, whatever. And Daniel had said something about me to him. He goes, "Oh, I've got a singer. Maybe you can help us with blah blah blah." So this is quintessential Billy. The artist comes in 2 or 3 times. Billy comes in after maybe the 3rd session, and they're leaving. Billy gives me a hug and goes, "Love you, man." And I went, "Who in this business
right.
says that?"
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
And means it.
And means
Yeah.
it.
Right, that's
And
the
he's not
thing.
just saying it. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not to get something.
Right.
He's just.
That's
Right.
him.
Giving out love.
That's him.
And I went, okay, I can do this business.
Yeah.
Right. Billy's the best.
There's all these people like, oh, this business is full of sharks and blah blah blah. And I go, I don't know that world.
Right.
The people I know in this world are way better than the people I know outside this world.
Yeah.
I feel like most of the sharks and because we run into the same thing now when you people tell you all the time, yo, don't play that. People will steal your songs. No, bro. No, not
Yeah.
really. I think once you get in, maybe the people that are hovering outside trying to get into the business are sharks. Mm-hmm. But I think once you get in, without question, you always got to make sure you're on top of your business.
Yeah, of course.
But most of the people I
themselves-
know, are not
Can
terrible.
you imagine being an attorney outside? I mean, that's what they do for a living. They get up and they fuck each other over.
Exactly.
You know, or an agent.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know a couple of agents.
Oh, that world
That-
is
that
tough. I mean, I
lifestyle.
don't know anybody with just a soft heart that can survive that.
I don't know. It's
Anyway, we're going down a rabbit hole.
Right.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming in.
oh,
and-
absolutely, man.
Nice
And we'll have to
meeting you.
wrap up part 2 here at some
Oh,
point.
just let
but
us
the
know
cabin,
when.
we'll broadcast from the cabin.
Yes.
That would be awesome. Done.
gotta get to the cabin.
We're gonna hunker down while it's snowing.
Right.
And we'll just do it from there.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
The
All right.
cabin is so
We're
lit.
wrapping up.
Magical
Yeah, thank
cabin.
So lit. Thank you for having us.
Thanks.
I'm so hungry.
I knew that was next.
I'm
Go,
so
go,
go.
hungry.
Cody? Yeah. Okay, let me know.